On this day in history, December 1st, 1955, 65 years ago, Rosa Parks solidified her place in American history by refusing to move to the back of a Montgomery, Alabama bus to make room for a white man. The moment, of course, pivotal in the history of the civil rights movement. And today, I spoke with Susan Rayburn, author of Rosa Parks, in her own words, on Rosa's legacy and how it is still being felt more than 6 decades later. You know, Susan, it's so funny. I know there is always this debate in the country about how much African-American history is incorporated into mainstream education, but you can always count on students across America learning about 2 people for sure when it comes to Black history, Dr. King and Rosa Parks. We all know the story by now. We all learned it in school, but is there anything you think we don't know or anything that gets underplayed in the story of Rosa Parks as we mark 65 years ago today when she was arrested famously on that bus?
Absolutely. And one of the things that I found in going through a lot of the material that we now have at the Library of Congress is what her life was like beforehand, before the arrest, which is what most people, of course, know her for. But she was actually something of a criminal investigator for the NAACP in the Montgomery, Alabama chapter. She was out there looking into cases that other people didn't want to hear about. She was looking at police brutality, murders, rapes, things that included unfair practices with regard to buses for Black children, white employers who prevented their Black employees from registering to vote. She would go out and investigate these items. And not that anything ever came of it. You know, no one was ever held accountable for so much of this, but she was documenting all of these things. And people were willing to talk to her in a way they weren't willing to talk to other folks, including the police. And so we have some remarkable records and notebooks of hers showing her life as this investigator before she became famous.
That day on the bus, did that happen organically or was it premeditated in any kind of way?
On the day that she got on the bus and was arrested, she didn't wake up thinking she was going to cause a ruckus. That was not part of the plan. In fact, she wouldn't even have gotten on the bus that day had she realized who the bus driver was. It was James Blake, who had caused problems for her in the past. And so it was something that she just sort of fell into that day. But a number of things had been happening. She had the death of Emmett Till on her mind. She had the recent arrest of other people in Montgomery who had violated orders to change seats on the bus. She had a lot of things on her mind. And so when she was finally asked to move, it all came to a head. And it was not something she had really planned to happen that day, but she was prepared for it. She was ready for it. She had done the training and she knew how to respond.
And as part of your book, Rosa Parks, in her own words, you had a chance to go through her handwritten notes. Anything surprise you, anything you learned that you didn't know before?
Oh, a number of things. That she'd had a lot of interesting run-ins with segregation beforehand. She'd had some close calls working as a domestic in a white household with people, and she was already becoming something of an activist as a child.
You know, obviously much of 2020 has been defined by more racial tension in the country for a variety of reasons and high-profile stories and cases. Is there any parallel you draw between that day on the bus, that day on the bus with Rosa Parks, and any case or any moment we've seen more recently that has also triggered the kind of ripple effect that her quiet action on the bus did that day? Is there a modern parallel?
There really is. The kind of work that we're seeing Black Lives Matter doing is the kind of work that she was doing and that she would have supported to this day. I am sure she would, if she were living right now, she couldn't be more pleased by seeing the activism that we're seeing in this country right now.
Well, we all stand on her shoulders in more ways than one. Thank you so much for your time today and for this work and for honoring one of the true great civil rights icons of American history. We certainly appreciate that. And thanks for giving us a few minutes here on NewsNation.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Take care. Happy holidays to you.